Government and Eskom could find themselves with a legal case on their hands over load shedding. A group of political parties, civil society organizations and law firms have come out in support of this move. In fact, several law firms have already called on individuals and businesses to share statements on the impact of these prolonged power cuts. So let's unpack exactly what the law says. In fact, we're joined by a representative from one of the law firms that's forming part of this legal action. Siphile Buthelezi joins us here in studio this morning. And you're with Buthelezi Inc. That's a law firm that's part of this legal action.
Yes.
So, I mean, what these legal papers argue, I've got them here in front of me. What they essentially argue, and what you and the other law firms, the NPOs, the civil society organizations, what they're arguing is that load shedding is a constitutional issue.
It is a constitutional issue. We have been approached by various businesses, NPOs, individuals that have approached us as law firms to look into it, and we have done that. We are busy with statements. In fact, there's been an increase of businesses and individuals since yesterday who are putting together affidavits and statements to basically take the case to court, if need be. So we have then prepared a letter of demand, which we have sent to the Minister of Public Enterprise, and we also sent it to the CEO of Eskom, outlining the issues as we're instructed by our clients, and also hoping that we will not have to litigate, which we have said that we will lodge the papers by next week, the 23rd. If we don't get a response or undertakings from the state on the issues that we've raised.
What would the state's response ideally need to look like?
We have put forward demands. There are demands that we have put forward. Demands like the state needs to be clear on the steps that will be taken to stop load shedding. There are also demands from clients that will need to be compensated for the loss that they've suffered in the businesses. Businesses have shut down. Homes have been burnt when electricity comes back. So there are a number of damages, claims that can actually be lodged by some of our clients. We have also demanded that the tariff increase that has been granted to Eskom by NESA that is not implemented upon pending the finalization of the court case. We have also demanded that transparency, accountability and transparency. Our clients are of the view that the government or the state has not been clear, has not put forward a plan as to what is it that it's doing to stop load shedding or to ensure that there's a stable power supply. That's what our clients have instructed us to demand.
I mean, just on one of those requirements, the issue of compensation for losses, I'm not even sure what that figure would look like.
It definitely will be a big figure, because the reality is that in all 9 provinces, we are receiving calls, we are receiving emails from businesses that have shut down and from businesses that have lost assets, individuals that have lost homes, individuals that have lost loved ones, because sometimes, as we all know, that there are people that rely on oxygen at home, and when there's load shedding for 4 hours, definitely you are going to have people losing their lives. So in terms of compensation, really that will run to billions of rands, if I'm not mistaken. So that is our instruction from clients to say, draft a letter of demand, demanding that there be immediate stop on load shedding, and also the procedural fairness when load shedding is implemented. Our clients are of the view that they should be given enough time to find alternative energy supply. There are situations, or there has been times where you get a notice that in the next 2 hours, stage 4 has been implemented. So,
or with immediate effect.
Or with immediate effect. Really, this is going to be a big case. I mean, it's first of its kind. As lawyers, group of lawyers and advocates, we have come together and availed ourselves to provide that service. So we are hoping that we'll get a response from government, and there won't be a need for any litigation.
In fact, that was my next question to you. You said at the start that you're hoping that you won't need to litigate, but given the demands on the table, that seems unlikely.
That's the reality. I mean, because if you look at some of the clients that we have, clients like NUMSA that have actually come on board, they are talking about, if, for example, the government needs to be clear as to what is it that it wants to do with coal mines. Are we shifting from coal, as we've indicated in our letter of demand, that previously there have been reports that South African government has received loans to a tune of over $8 billion from the U.S. government to assist South Africa to shift away from coal. But the flip side of that, there's been an increase in export of our coal over 700%. If you drive down N2 to Richards Bay, you then realize that there has been an increase of export of our coal. Where is our coal going? So those are the issues that have been raised by our clients and have requested us really to put them forward to government and require answers.
So what would a case like this look like in the courtroom? I'm just going through your legal papers here, and we said at the start of this discussion that this is a constitutional issue at the heart of it. There's the right to the freedom of trade, occupation, profession that's being cited here as well. The biggest issues facing SMMEs, for example, is a lack of Wi-Fi, staff morale, ATMs are out of order during load shedding, there's a loss of planning, inability to trade. Restaurants, in many cases, have to close their door, damage to equipment, losses incurred as a result of there being no power. Once it gets to the courtroom, let's say it gets to the courtroom, right? What does this case look like?
It's a normal civil case where, for example, as we have indicated, firstly, the state has a constitutional obligation to ensure that there's sufficient supply and generation.
In line with demand.
In line with demand.
Yeah.
And if the state has failed to do that, then it then breaches the constitutional rights of South African citizens. For example, right to life. We understand that there are surgical procedures, for example, that have had to be postponed. Right to basic education. There are classrooms where there's no natural light that comes into the classroom. So you definitely to be it's your normal civil case, but obviously the magnitude will be of much bigger than your normal civil case that you normally find in the courts. And remember, you are going to have litigants who come from all over the country. We are talking about compensation. I mean, in Gauteng alone or in KwaZulu-Natal alone, how many businesses have suffered loss? How many individuals have suffered loss? So it is definitely going to be a big case. Because
the biggest in history, potentially?
The biggest. And obviously in this case, I think this is the first letter of demand from organizations, individuals, businesses that have come together. So it is going to be a very big case if indeed we do proceed to court.
I mean, what you're essentially asking is for the courts to intervene and order the government to end load shedding. And of course, the argument from the government on the flip side of that will be A, B, and C. These are the reasons why we can't.
The reality is that government has been saying that we are doing something, but there is no clear plan. The government has not been transparent as to what are the steps that it intends taking or it is taking in order to end load shedding. That's why the case is centered around accountability and transparency, so that citizens also of this country will be able to gain trust that government is doing something. As we sit here today, most of our clients are of the view that the government has not been clear, has not been transparent as to what is happening. I mean, if you look at 18 months ago, we're told that load shedding is going to end, but it's still with us. In fact, now we are in stage 6. In fact, I think a few weeks ago, the Minister of Energy also said load shedding can end in 6 months
Yep.
and 12 months.
Yep.
But are there clear steps that have been put forward, taking the citizen to confidence? So that's what we are demanding, or we've been instructed to demand from our clients.
So the deadline for government is Friday to explain its failure its failure to ensure a stable power supply in the country, right? But for you as this group of lawyers, it really does depend, as I understand it, on what government says, and it can't be the 5 steps, for example, that the President announced last year in July, when he said these are the 5 steps we are taking to end load shedding. You want specifics, and if it doesn't meet your criteria according to your clients, then this legal action must go ahead.
Will definitely go ahead. In fact, what we are currently doing as I speak now, my colleagues in all 9 provinces are busy consulting, taking statements, taking affidavits. So we will not wait for government to respond. If it responds and we take that response back to our clients and they are satisfied, then obviously we will not proceed with litigation. But we are proceeding with work in anticipation that if there is a need for us to lodge court papers by next week, we are ready to do so. Hence, consultations, as we are sitting here right now, are proceeding in various corners of the country.
Is this a call as well to people like the people you have described who have a case here insofar as load shedding is concerned, those small business owners, those people who have lost homes, loved ones? Is this an appeal for them to get in touch?
It is an appeal. I mean, the clients that have consulted us or have given us the mandate to proceed with the matter, they are also encouraging other individuals, businesses, organizations to really put forward their cases. And myself, I've received a number of emails, people who are interested, and also the society at large. You might not have been affected by load shedding. In fact, maybe, let's say you've not lost a loved one, or you have a generator at home, but you do find such individuals who are saying, we are here to assist. What is it that you need? Do you need funding? What is it that you need? We want to assist because we want to see the end to load shedding. And
how do they get in touch with you?
There are various law firms. With myself, it's Siphile Buthelezi. I'm from Buthelezi Vilakazi Inc. On social media, but there is an email that we have created, which is Eskom case, one word, eskomcase@gmail.com. So that's the email that we have created, where people have actually started sending their affidavit or statements stating how load shedding has affected them. We are contacting them one by one. We are also contacting civil organizations, MPOs, that represent small businesses. Just this morning, there's an organization that, in fact, while I was here in the studios, organization that says that it represents 130 street vendors who have been affected. So they can get hold of us. We are working on the matter. We are hoping that we'll get a good result.
All right, and I'm sure you and I will have a conversation perhaps once that decision is made on whether to proceed and whether to litigate.
We'll definitely make ourselves available.
Siphile Buthelezi is with Buthelezi Vilakazi Inc., one of the law firms that is getting ready to launch potentially what could be the biggest civil claim in South Africa. If you are one of those people who have been impacted to the extent that we have been discussing this morning by load shedding, eskomcase@gmail.com is the email address that's been created. Siphile, thanks very much indeed for coming into the studio.
Thank you very much.